All right. Good morning, traders. Today is Wednesday, December 10th. Called out a setup here for my signal service members early this morning at taking a short at the 25,701 and targeting the 25,695 and the 689. And it's this one hurt. Did have to invalidate this one because we came exactly one tick off of the entry there, and then we swept TP, so we invalidated this trade. But our reaction point was pretty damn close there. One tick off there, so we can get rid of this guy now. And this same area did leave some unbalanced volume. We do have oil inventory report coming out this morning at 9:30, and then obviously we got FOMC rate decision and statement at 1 p.m. Central Time. So that's the area that they left unbalanced. Eesh, this looks a little sweepy right here. I didn't break structure. Don't like that at all. Don't like that one at all. Hey man, we're in the same freaking boat on the ES. Nothing has really improved on the ES at all. Let's take this guy off. Just really ugly price action. Hopefully FOMC here today can maybe stir the pot a little bit here. Because for me to start looking for some setups, I mean, at the minimum now, I mean, we got to get down to like the 68.16 all the way down here to break some structure. So I mean, it's got a long ways to go to really open up, and it's just been stuck. I think yesterday I was counting, it's been like in a 50-point range for, which seems like forever. We do have that setup that I left you guys with yesterday on the NQ at the 25,514.75, targeting the 25,521 and a quarter, and the 525.75 with a stop at the 25,507.50. So we'll see what we can get here this morning. Want to stay super patient. You know, I mean, definitely go after my setups, but I've talked about it many times on FOMC days. It's you got to stay super patient. And I'm typically out of the market an hour before, up to almost an hour after the market. So people in my signal service, they already know that my signals get paused during that FOMC period. But hopefully we can break into some new volume, because it feels like we're just recycling the same volume. We do have some weekly bands that haven't been tested, which I would love to see get tested. I'll bring those up on the screen. You know, starting with the NQ, we got a band up here at the 26,178 down to the 26,066. Had a nice rejection off that level I gave out this morning, 25,709. This band's been tested already twice, I believe. Yeah, twice. 2 taps. So there's some volume in here at the 25,575 down to the 25,488. I mean, we got volume to the downside at the 25,388 down to the 323. So, I mean, there's a lot of areas that the market can go into if it wants to see some action. And the ES, I mean, just forget about it. The ES doesn't have anything to the top side, and it's got this weekly band sitting at the 67.20 down to the 66.88. It's been there for weeks without getting tested. So we'll see. We'll see what FOMC can do for us here this morning. Let's pop this guy down. Yeah, 25. There's some resting limit order on it. 25.14. Banner King, good morning. David Ray, good morning. Milan, good morning. GTO Johnny, good morning. Nordic, good morning. Michael, good morning. Steve, good morning. All right, so I've been tracking the poly markets on the Fed rates today, and yesterday they were at 95%, leaning towards a quarter basis point. Today it's at 97%. Wow. With $362 million of volume in that single poly market bet. 1% for a half a point decrease. That would be crazy. That would set the market on fuego. If they were to make that kind of a surprise. They got some crazy bets that you can make here. Who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Kevin Hassett, 71%. Kevin Warsh, 13%. How many tweets will Elon Musk have from December 5th to December 12th? When Maduro is out by... This is awesome. That's pretty cool shit. All right, so you 15%ers that are voting no, and you take a bet against that, and you can make some serious cash. You can make some serious leverage. Market would crash on a 0.5 point. I don't think so. I don't think it would crash. I mean, I guess what do you consider a crash? 500 points, 600 points? I don't not necessarily know that that's a crash. I mean, we're obviously due for... We need to move 400 or 500 points on the NQ to start revisiting some unrecycled volume. So... the tricky one with rates, with mortgage rates, because like I mentioned last week in my forgot what day we were talking about real estate. It's kind of a double-edged sword because one, yes, you open up the buyer pool and you might get some sellers that if the rate gets a little bit more attractive, drops, let's say, into like the mid fives, low fives, it might sway some sellers to actually list their properties. Remember, most of them are sitting at about a 3.3% interest rate on average. So it might sway some sellers because we need inventory. I mean, obviously inventory is the key to a balanced market. Even if prices stay level or decrease even somewhat, which we kind of need again to get a balanced market. It's a double-edged sword across the board, but I mean, I personally in the ballpark where I think we were going to feel the effects of COVID stimulus and COVID closure, supply line chain, interest rate. I think we're going to feel this until 2030. You know, people think it went and left, but the financial effects, they're deep rooted into our system. Morning, Granddad. Glad to have you with us, man. Man, watching that setup from this morning hurt, man. I saw my resting limit order there. And once it missed by a tick, it kind of stayed right in between entry and TP1. I'm like, they gotta tap into it. And they went straight down into TP1. And then probably halfway through TP1 and TP2. That's when I canceled my limit order. And then I posted on the chat, on the Signal chat, that let's set up. I pulled my order on that one already. But those are the examples of like the sniper entries, you know? I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for very, very little drawdown. I mean, that one, if we would have got a tick higher, obviously, TP1 would have gone with a 0 drawdown, which is what I'm looking at. All right, so they're probably coming after this unbalanced volume that I was talking about earlier. Right here. Let's go to the 5-minute. Let's see it a little better. Got some juicy volume there too. So that's their safe zone. You know, my only setup area would be right here. But that seems very sweepy to me. Very sweepy right up here. But this is going to be an area that they're going to probably want to come and revisit that playground. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, the ES has just been absolute garbage. I mean, I have not been able to find a setup on the ES for over a week. Over a week. It's just been really nasty. Really nasty. Even this move down got balanced out so much during its move down. Look at that. There's just been no really impulsive moves from one area to the other. Look at this. It's been gross. So it's been tough to trade the ES. Now we still got a setup down here. I think we've been waiting on this setup for about a week, maybe more. The 6766, I'm sorry, the 6763, targeting the 6766 and the 69, the stop at the 758. But again, it feels like it's been over a week on this guy. I don't know. Oh, this is where I want to see the structure break. Jump back down to the 1. All right, who was in the green? Who was in the red yesterday? I was flat the whole day. Let's see it, Chad. Who was red? Who was green? And again, yesterday's NQ movement, you know, minus this little move right here. Tough to trade, man. Nice. All right, so we still got some greens. David Burns, small red. David, I absolutely agree with you. Today, if there's a day not to trade, be today. I will only consider an absolute A+ setup. And it's got to come pretty early for me. I'm hoping to see it before 10:30. So you got to remember that a lot of bigger players start moving into the markets. Volume will start to flatten out. You know, typically about an hour before FOMC, and you might be just working with like positional plays, and those are not very reliable. Not like on a normal trading day. Even with some high impact news, I don't care. CPI or unemployment. I mean, order books right now look pretty healthy. But we're just kind of sitting in no man's land right now. What evals are you working with, Morgan? Apex or another firm? Oh, yesterday. Okay. Well, yesterday you definitely didn't miss anything. We had an IB trade that probably would have worked out. I did get my footprint confirmation on that IB trade, but it was like 8 points higher than the IB high. I just didn't feel very comfortable, but I will state that it was a fantastic footprint confirmation. It was we got a red footprint candle with a lot of positive delta. It was a great little flip there, and that would have gotten you your 15 points. You probably would have got more than that, but typically Nordic, I'm on such a higher time frame with my volume profile that my my value area highs and lows are much different than people that are trading the volume profile daily. So, you know, you got to get pretty extended. Let's just see where it's at. You got to get pretty extended. So, for instance, you got to be all the way up here, almost 500 points to the upside and probably 1,000 points to the downside. And typically it's very difficult for me to find setups in those areas. Maybe right here on this peak you could find something. So I'm looking at the higher time frame volume profile. So those setups to me don't come very often. I'd rather be in the areas of juicier markets. I should say juicier volume areas. Probably the right way to say that. I know we got oil inventory report coming out at 9:30, and then obviously we got FOMC at 1. So again, if we got to break a structure here at the 603s, so probably right here, yep. If we can get a break a structure here before balancing out this area here, this could be an area where we could take a setup from. But it just seems like the market has been constantly rebalancing areas right after it leaves. I'd like to see a break of structure here at the 25603s, and then even a break of structure here at the 2566 would even be better. Give me a nice little impulsive move to the downside. I would take that. And really the only thing here that I see, it doesn't even look, no. Yeah, no, this has all been balanced out. So all these, excuse me, all these wicks here that we see here have balanced out volume as we get the impulsive move. It's still rebalancing volume before it leaves, which means typically that the moves are not as strong. They're not as impulsive. They don't have what it takes to break structure, which is in another unbalanced area, like what it just did right here. But what it left in its wake here is just very ugly. I'd like to see a strong candle followed by another strong candle, break of structure, and then we've got that area of unbalanced volume that I can target. We haven't seen that a lot. So our next area to break would be right here at the 567. Which is a shame because that would have been a decent area to pull a setup from. I did take a very tiny, I took a 1 micro trade this morning on golds. Just on my Top Step, on my funded accounts. Just been having a hard time trading the not Apex, Top Step, on my Top Step funded through that Top Step X. I don't know why I just always seem to forget to even have the platform open. I'm just so used to taking all my trades on NinjaTrader. It did work out, so that was nice. Just wanted to, I guess you could say I was bored. See if we get a strong close here. See what the 9 a.m. hour has to offer. Yeah, you just got to be careful, you know, going into other instruments. You know, you want to get the rhythm and the flow of the instrument before you start going buck wild, especially with a strategy that you already have really good confidence in. And, you know, as a trader, you got to stay patient. I mean, every business is going to have its periods of slow time and periods of its uptime. So, you know, for retail, obviously December, the holidays, is a fantastic time. They typically make a bulk of their margins and profit for the entire year in the holiday season. Then they go through a lull. In real estate, it's the same thing. Once, for me, pretty much like October through February is like a dead zone. And then February to June is super hot. Well, it's super cold here, but the markets get super hot. So you got to know when to strike. You got to know when to strike when the setups are plentiful, like how they were in October, November. They were fantastic. The movement was just great. And then you could switch over to another instrument just because you're bored of not seeing a ton of setups on the instrument that you're used to. But now you got to get used to a new instrument. You got to see the absolute flow and heartbeat of that new market that you go into. Now, the one thing I will say with my strategy with volume is it does carry over through every market, so... And I literally took that trade this morning. It was, I took a long for about 52 ticks, I think it was. Again, it was on a micro, so nothing huge. But I mean, 52 ticks on a E-mini that's a fantastic trade. This market is just undecisive, man. And another thing I will say, Nordic, on your, you know, you also got to see how long you backtest that value area high and low, because obviously in markets like these that we have been seeing for the last 2 weeks, very value area high and low is going to, especially on the daily, is going to work extremely well, because look how tight these ranges are. So your value area highs and lows are just going to be so tight every single day that in this type of environment, that particular strategy might work very, very well. I could actually be assured that it would probably work very well because of how tight the ranges are. But when you start to see like an expanding market, that's when things start getting a little bit more trickier. That's when your PLC areas start to become, or high value nodes start to become more, I think, better tradable opportunities. Volume Masterclass is done, my man. So that's going to get released. The plan is the first week in January. I will be switching over all my memberships from YouTube and Discord over to a new platform in January. I'm going to start sending out a video and details about that in the next week and a half. It's been a culmination of about probably 3-4 months of working on all of this. As I stated before, I want to have one central platform for everyone to go in and get their signals, see all of my content. All my live streams will be on there. For my signal service members, when a new signal is posted, you will get now a text message and an email alert to your phone. There will be all the live streams will be streamed on that platform as well as YouTube, and it'll be nice because right now I'm trying to manage 2 different membership styles with YouTube and Discord, and I think I mentioned to you guys maybe last week or the week before, Discord and YouTube just charge like my fee's $40 on to join my signal service, which will be going up January 1st. For those that are in our signal service or in my signal service group now, it will stay at $40. But that $40 fee, out of that $40, Discord takes out about $8. YouTube takes out about $10. So that leaves you with $30 to $32 for the membership. But the kicker is, which I really don't like, is if you join my membership through YouTube, on your mobile phone, like Android or Apple, they're charging you like $50. And that $10 service fee is just being paid to Apple just to manage the membership, or Android to manage the membership fee. And that I think is just, I don't like. So if you are going to join the membership before January 1st, I highly recommend to go to the desktop platform of either YouTube or Discord. And then you could still access it through your mobile, but you're not getting charged that third-party fee just to manage those payments. Not necessarily. So my system is obviously based off of my system is based really off of, the basic premise is impulsive move, break of structure on the 5 or 15, unbalanced volume. So, even in range markets, that does happen. It's just been, yesterday we found 2 setups. Day before we found 2 setups. This morning I already found a setup. The setups are there. I don't need to take 4 or 5 trades a day. That's exactly what I'm actually not looking for. If I can get 1 or 2 A+ trades a day and capture 20 to 25 points on the NQ or 4 to 8 points on the ES, I don't need anything else. And if you do, just scale up another contract. And if that scares you, don't. Like I said, sometimes staying out is a position, and it could be a really good position. You get a strategy, a momentum strategy, you get a big red down candle, you think the market's going down, market destroyed you. You get a strong up candle, you think the market's going up, market destroys you. This you just can't trade. The volume has been all balanced out. That's the premise of my strategy, and I think it's the premise of the market. It's just doing auction theory right now, very tight, very, very tight. It's not looking for big sweeps. It needs a catalyst. That catalyst might be FOMC. It could be a headline that comes out. It needs to revisit some new areas of volume, like which I showed you on my weekly bands on the NQ. There's a bunch of them that, all these need to be filled in. The market's waiting for them. But Just how long it's going to take to get there. Let's put this guy down over here. Good morning, Rob. This is from AP. Does your bracket order stays the same for NQ? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that question? 29 tick stop loss, 26 and 44 TP. Yeah, so I'll give you two things here. I don't know if Michael's on here or not, but I'll post a link in the chat here for an order entry system that one of our members created through NinjaTrader, and it works really well with my signals. So when a new signal comes out or a new setup appears, you could just enter that into that indicator or strategy, and it'll place your orders depending if you're looking at just a resting limit order, if you're looking for a footprint confirmation, like which is what my entry model is. With a footprint confirmation, it will do all of that, and you can tell it, to target TP1 or TP2. You can make it go to break even after TP1. There's a lot of different flexibility in it. I'll put the link in it for you to have in there. So that's one way of getting into it. The second way is, if I'm on the charts, which typically 95% of the time I'm on front of the charts for a limit order. If I'm going to limit order into a setup, for instance, like this one, no, I'm sorry, we're on the ES. Let's go to the NQ. So for instance, this one's set to an 8-point ATM. Okay, so it's set to 8-point ATM, 8 points of stop loss. Typically, my stop is around that 8 to 10. So in that scenario, if my stop loss is not enough, I might adjust it by a point. But 8 seems to be pretty good spot there. And then depending on the area that I feel is left really unbalanced, that, I'll target either middle of TP1, TP2, or TP2. So, and I could just make that adjustment once the bracket orders get executed. Like 8 points would put me here at the 522. Yeah, almost a 523. So that would be like right up right here. You know, smack right there, and that seems to be a good spot for me. If I've got a bigger target, like let's say that TP1 is about 10 points, then I just go to my 10-point ATM. I've got an ATM set for, let's see here. I got an 8-point, I got a 10-point, I got an 11-point. I've got a 15-point, which is my initial balance trade. That's 15-point stop, 15-point take profit. I typically never change from that. So depending on you know what I'm trying to target, I've already got those ATMs set up, and they're all set up pretty much with 8-point stops. So hopefully that answers that question. Does Michael's indicator? Well, you wouldn't be able to. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think so, because I don't think you can get the strategy on Trade of 8 Ninja's mobile platform. I could be wrong on that, but what I can say is, if you're obviously on desktop, you can load the strategy, put your entry in, and then you can view it or modify the actual positions once they're in it through mobile. But I don't think that you can actually do that through the Ninja mobile. I don't think you can add a strategy on mobile like that. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Oh, sorry about that. That's another thing I got to figure out. I got to figure out how to get away from this. When I hover over one of my windows, it gives me like the desktop view. I hate that. I wish I could fix that. I'll be right back. So Morgan's question would be cool to get the signals and be able to enter everything on the phone. Well, again, right now, you know, as what's the right word I'm looking for? Whatever. In Discord, you can obviously have your notifications set. So when I post in my Signal service group, I tag the Signal members. So that notification will pop up on your phone that you've got a new entry. Obviously, once the new platform comes into play, you're going to get straight text messages and emails to your phone, which would be alerting you to a signal. Now, you obviously can, you can enter those onto mobile, because on mobile you have the option of setting your bracket orders to the ticks that you want. So I mean, you know, if you're targeting, let's say 10 points at TP1 or 12 points at TP2, you set that to 40 ticks of take profit or 44 ticks of take profit. You put your stop loss in, and all that. From that point, all you got to do is just put your entry on the mobile phone. My experience with the mobile version of Ninja, it's not very good. It could do the job, but it's I would say at best it's a great way to manage maybe positions. I even have a hard time moving stuff like the stop loss and take profit on the mobile. I don't know if it's because I got fat fingers or what, but all right, 14 minutes here for IB to be set. Let's just see where it's sitting at right now. Yeah, no problem, AP. So the issue I have with the orbs, I mean, there's a ton of them that are out there, and I'll be the first to admit that I've dabbled into back testing a shit ton of them. I got no confidence in them. I really don't. I just don't get confidence in them. It's a weird scenario. And I think it's maybe because there's a 5-minute, there's a 15-minute, there's a 30-minute orb that you can do, and it's like which one do you want to really target? And I don't know. Yeah, Scott. I mean, and you know the way that they mask that risk, that 50-50 that you're talking about is with 2-to-1 risk to reward. You know, but again, just having a set risk to reward is it's a tough proposition for me as well. Just because, you know, every day is going to be a little bit different. It's how volume's kind of shaken out. And I will say, you know, risk to reward. I go over this very deeply into my masterclass, but risk to reward is a topic I think that not a lot of traders really truly grasp 100%. The market doesn't owe you anything. The market doesn't care about your risk to reward. It doesn't care about your daily dollar amount goal. It does not give a shit about that. The only thing that the market is looking for is volume to conduct business. That's it. It's very, very, very simple. And risk to reward, in how I view it, is I want my risk in an area that I have strong conviction that I'm protected, and I'm not being protected by a dollar amount that I don't want to risk, that I want to risk, because the market doesn't give a shit about the amount of money that I want to risk. It cares about where the next area where it can open and close an auction. That's it. So risk to reward, you know, then you get the conventional wisdom that 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 5-to-1 risk to reward is the way to go, because, you know, you could be wrong 70% of the time and still come out with a profit. Well, that requires an extremely, extremely disciplined trader. most traders that are, you know, probably in that 90% category are not extremely disciplined traders, meaning that if they are in a trade that is working for them and they get to that 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, a lot of them will cut their loss. I'm sorry, will close their position for that profit because they're sick and tired of being stopped out on the last 3 or 4 trades, waiting for that 20 to 30%. And then when that 20 to 30% trade comes, a lot of them don't have the internals to take that all the way to take profit. So then by cutting a trade early or moving your stop to break even too early, now you've, in theory, that strategy will work. But now by doing that, because your psychology wasn't there, your trading discipline wasn't there, now your risk to reward and your profitability is completely skewed very negatively. You know, those 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 5 risk to reward strategies, they can work. They typically will work really well in the long run, but you have to be disciplined to take 5 losses in a row and then to finally wait for that home run to make up for the losses in a row and then squeak out some profit. I'm in the mindset of my risk to reward is based on where I see protection, where I feel that the market's going to have a hard time getting through. That still makes sense for the trade. I don't want a big negative risk to reward at all. I'm not looking for that. And sometimes I'll tell you, you know, this looks great, but TP1, I can't find anything that makes sense because the TP1 on the NQ might be 4 points or 5 points. And if I'm risking 10 or 8, you know, that's when things don't look super A+ to me. Will the setup happen? Will the reaction happen? Yes, but the trade's got to make sense to me, and that's how I view risk to reward. And you know, I mean, obviously, people are going to come out and say, "Well, I've got a 1 to 3 risk to reward, and it works fantastic for me." And what you're saying is bullshit. I'm giving everybody, you know, the wrong trading. Not advice. I don't give financial advice, but the wrong theory here. But maybe that trader that is working on that is a very disciplined trader and can stomach those consistent losses for that one big trade. Or they just started a new strategy and maybe their first 2 trades all went 1 to 5 and they think that it's the greatest strategy in the world until the data and the percentages start working against them, and then they take 5 trades that lose in a row, or 4 or 3, and they're like, well, this shit sucks. You know, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's the problem. You don't stay in a strategy long enough to even see it through. Trading is a tough game, no matter which way you look at it. You know, you could have a negative risk to reward strategy and have a 90% win rate and then take a loss and knocks out 3 weeks of trading. You could definitely make it up if you continue on that strategy. You might get another stretch of 80 to 90% wins, make up that $3,000 that you lost and get right back into profit and continue with the profit that you already had before the $3,000 loss. But again, people have to stick out that strategy. Once they get that one big loss, they're like, well, this sucked. It was awesome and it worked. But when is that 10% rule going to come into play? You know, I had somebody on the chat a couple days ago, you know, was saying, why don't we just double our position on a loss? And I think that day we might have had a setup that didn't work out. And, you know, even if your strategy, like my strategy is running at 78% win rate, that strategy leaves room for 22% of a losing trade. And you never know if you get that 22% that comes in like a 2 or 3 trade. I think the first 2 trades in December were losers. So that doesn't fit the 78% rule, but it's a part of it in the long term. And that's how you got to look at it. If you're doubling position and you double again and you get that streak of maybe 2 or 3 losses, which is unlikely, but it can obviously happen, you're done. You're out. You've either blown your accounts, the compounding effect of doubling your position on every loss is that martingale strategy will destroy you eventually. It just takes one bad trade. And I don't want to be here for one trade. I want to be here for years and years and years to come. I want to retire with this. Yes, Morgan, I agree with that. In fact, that's something I'm looking at right now. That's the exact thing I'm looking at right now. And I've been doing a lot of math on that to see what might be the best criteria for that. All right, 2 minutes for IB to be set here. So currently IB is sitting at the 25,672 all the way down to the 25,567. I see a little bit more interest on the IB to the high side, to the IB high, than I do to the low, but that can obviously change. Yeah, I mean, the thing on the fixed ratio money management, I mean, you can have an indicator. I know I've seen many indicators where, and I think that Michael's strategy for my signals, entering my signals, he's got some risk based on your account balance. So that's kind of cool. That's built in. But it's actually pretty simple. I mean, you take your balance and you times it by what risk ratio you're looking at. If you want to stay at that 2 to 3%, which is where I'm at currently. Remember, I run at about a 2.5% risk on my trades per trade. I've got a built-in through NinjaTrader. I've got a built-in max loss on my accounts, which I think is a little high. Currently have it set at 800. I'm going to reduce that down to 600 per day because if you guys remember, I went on about a week and a half where I moved up one position size. So I went to 2 E-minis. I've brought everything down to 1 E-mini, and that's where I feel really, really comfortable with. So I can now bring my max loss on my cash accounts down to $600, and that's just a setting you can set through NinjaTrader where, and it's not necessarily that I came really close. If you guys remember that day, I don't know, I posted, obviously you guys can watch the live of it, but I was like, that was the day that I took it was during that time period where I was on 2 E-minis. And I remember taking a losing position it was a real butt hurt. And then I took a secondary position and I came about $60 from my max loss for the day. Okay. And I remember even saying, I'm like, I'm going to take this IB high. I think it was a fade on the IB high. And I targeted obviously my target was 15 points, but I'm like, I only have like 3 or 4 points of drawdown left before I hit my max. And that trade ended up working out. And I took that account, both of those accounts, because I was down almost $1,400. I think I finished that day down like $60 or something like that on those 2 accounts with 2 wins right after it. And maybe it was that day that I'm like, those double position sizes, I'm just not mentally ready for it yet. I'm more income based on my trading, so I've gone over how I take my payouts or my withdrawals on my cash accounts. I've gone over that to nauseum, so I won't say it all over again. But I've been more income based right now than growing the account. My thought process is maybe in January I might just, instead of taking that $5,000 withdrawal, I could just leave it in there, and then my secondary position will still stay in that ratio of the 2 to 3% risk for my account. Let me see if I can find that. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, so here's the, I put the link in the chat for Mike's order entry for my signals or my setups. And I believe it's 40 bucks. No, $29.75. I don't know where you got the 75 cents from, but $29.75 is what he charges for that. I know he worked on that for a shitload of time. It's back tested it, beta tested it with other people, and it's very slick, very, very slick. Nice little down push here. Let's see if we can break structure here at the 587s, which is right around here. We could start looking for a possible setup in this unbalanced region. We'll see what, even though I already see that look like we got swept there. Let's see what happens here. You guys can see the level right here, the 5-minute level, right at the 25,647. So that's be an area that I'm going to be targeting. Oop, let's go. All right, break a structure there now. Now let's see what this area has to offer. If anything, it does. Oh, no, it does not. Hold on. Getting kind of close here to the IB play. All right, that's the area that I'm looking at. Let's switch over here. Okay. God, I hope I don't get an error because I already have a limit order down there. I don't think I will because I selected a new ATM. So again, on the I was going to say on the 15-minute open range, on the we've been talking about orbs. On the initial balance play, what I'm looking for is a footprint candle to tap into the IB low in this scenario, into the IB low, cross the IB low if it needs to, but then I would want to see a green footprint confirmation, a green footprint candle with negative delta. Okay, so this is like green with green. I'd be looking at green footprint with like that was a good footprint right there. Obviously that did not touch the IB low, but that's the exact footprint that I'd be looking for. Green footprint, negative delta, and then usually you'll get a nice flip from that. That's my confirmation candle. I got you, Mike. And my book map is frozen. Oh no, it's not. Let's go. That was weird. All right, the 567s, 560s look strong. Okay. So they look like they could sweep right to here. But let's see what we can get here, if anything. A little pocket sitting right here that they could sweep into, which is perfectly fine by me. Could even go down to the 550s, which would not be so great for me because that would put me outside of that 15-point stop loss region. But you could always adjust accordingly if you're going with a resting limit order or not. And then for this setup here, crap. All right, I gotta come back to that. Okay, a lot of negative. Okay, so right there, see? Oh. Also, I don't think I got in on my funded accounts because I already had this resting limit order here. I knew I should have probably canceled that one. My footprint, I got a great footprint confirmation. I just don't really like my stop loss placement, but we'll see. I'm good going into break even here. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Push, 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 push. All right, I'm out. Took about 10 points on that one. Didn't necessarily love my stop loss placement right there. I would have rather gotten the confirmation a little bit lower. Maybe resting limit order, you got the 15 points. And I don't think I took that on the fundeds. I did not. Son of a B. Son of a B. So because I had the resting, I think I've got 2 E-minis on my funded accounts that so because I still had that resting limit order there, it did not take it on the funded accounts. So it's just on my cash, which I'm perfectly happy with. Took close to 400 bucks on that. Awesome. Good job, guys. Okay, so now on this setup here, sorry. Let's see what happens here now. Oh, that made me mad. Dang it. That would have been a nice little winner there. Load. Stop loss. All right, so we got a setup here at the 25,622, targeting the 611 and the 606 with a stop at, you know, and I'm sorry, let me get out of that mode so you guys can see it better. So 25,622 targeting the 611.75 and the 25,606.50 with a stop at the 25,633. And let me just take this off so we clean this up here a little bit. A feeling too to take off that limit order, just so I knew I wouldn't run into any issues on that trade. But hopefully you guys saw the footprint confirmation. It was pretty strong. Granted, it didn't afford me the best entry, but you would have definitely gotten your 15 points. All right, now this guy. Place him right here. What is this? It's 22. Okay. Finally got it. Good job, key confirmation. Yeah, let me see if I can pull up that confirmation here. See where my entry was at. Not sure why my entries are not showing up on my footprint chart here. Should be on text and marker. So this was a footprint confirmation right here. So this was the IB low right here at the 25,567. and you got a green footprint candle with 122 negative delta. I mean, that's the perfect flip right there. And that was pretty much the bottom right there. That got you your 15 points and then some. Key, are you on the micro or the micro or the E-mini? Because remember, the micros is gonna be a lot more contracts sitting on the delta than the E-mini will. Or you might not have it on the 20 range. That seems like to me like you might have it on the 40 range, because I think it was 100 and whatever, and then another 180 or 170. That's awesome. So I'm positive that your execution, Seymour, on Michael's strategy on that order management was better than mine, because I'm marketing order in when I visually see it, where his it's like instant. The second you get the confirmation, it's in. Let's see if we get a reaction here or not. Left a lot unbalanced to the downside. Going into a good pocket of volume here, so oh, my stop's not in the right spot. It's gotta go right there. All right, so I retested volume right there. Let's see if a pop right here. More than happy to bring this down to break even if we get halfway to TP here. Right there. I like that little spike. Don't take me out. Don't take me out. Don't take me out. Don't take me. Oh, you son of a gun. Ah, you son of a gun. I like the second retest right there. That might get you. I took some profit on that, but that was not good. You're going to do it to me, aren't you? All right, so it did hit that area that was a little bit balanced. If you guys saw that TP1 got a little bit balanced, TP2 still looks open, and hopefully we don't see another retest here. Again, going into balanced, TP2 is unbalanced, so that should still be in play. There you go. TP1, TP2. Nice little setup there. I'm happy with break even on that, to be honest with you. I saw that secondary retest right there, and I knew that TP1 had been kind of balanced out, but I really liked that move. Really like that move. On an FOMC day, that's a fantastic trade. All right, TP1 and TP2 hit. Let's take a screenshot of this guy. And we can get rid of this guy now. He did his job. I see what I see, man. I see what I see in the charts. I very rarely, maybe 1 out of 15 or 20 trades will ever go to break even. And that was one of those where I saw TP1 get balanced out. You guys saw on that wick, maybe on the 1 minute it would have been a little difficult, but while you saw that 1 minute candle happening, and I was perfectly happy going to break even on that trade. So, it is what it is. I'm green. Not as green as I want, but at least that's in cash. All right. Up 3K in the day. Nice job. Let's go. Guys, hit the like on the stream. I appreciate it. You guys do this every single morning for you guys. Clear entry, stop loss, take profit. Full transparency here. Now we could set this guy. So now I got to change this guy back to the 8-point ATMer. Yep. And then pop this limit in by limit 1. Let's get rid of these IB lows now. Guys, if you haven't done so, please hit the like on the stream. I appreciate it. Give it about 4 more minutes here. Get rid of this guy. We don't need him anymore. It's dirty. So David, I would say if you can drop a DM to Michael. It's Medic Mike on Discord, Everybody's setting is going to be a little bit different depending on what your risks or, you know, what your target and risk is going to be on the trades. If you're looking for break even, if you're looking for footprint confirmation, again, the only way you're going to get the footprint confirmation, guys, if you have footprints on your NinjaTrader. So you have to have the strategy loaded on your volumetric footprint chart. If you place it on a regular chart like this one right here, you would only be able to do resting limit orders. Okay, so if you're just targeting resting limit order, TP1 or TP2, then it will work perfectly fine on any chart. But if you want the footprint confirmation, like this one over here, I don't know why it's so compressed. Why is it doing that? I don't know. I don't know why it's so compressed right now. But anyways, if you need the footprint confirmation, then you're going to have it on this volumetric footprint chart, on a 20 range chart for it to work. Rudy, I would say just look at my easiest one is if you go to my website, robstrades.com, go to strategies, and just watch the 2 videos I have on how I trade the volume profile and my volume-based trading. I've got a 3-part series on that, how I find my levels each morning, what I'm looking for on the volume profile, and then I've got one that's called Secret Sauce, which is pretty much the combination of everything on how I come up with my entries. That's the place where you want to start. Well, P&L should have been a lot higher today. Stupid mistake with me having that resting limit order and then taking the IB low. None of my funded accounts took that trade because I already had two E-mini, or I'm sorry, yeah, I had already had 2 E-minis resting on that resting limit order that we had at the 25,514. So I only got in on cash on my IB trades, which I'm perfectly happy with. I mean, $445 on cash for the day is fantastic for me. So with that being said, it's 10 o'clock. I am out. I'll still have to keep this resting limit order here unless we get closer to FOMC. Stay super patient. I got to go to the mechanic. I got to change the belt on my wife's truck. And we'll see here what we get. But take care, everyone. And again, stay patient today. Today's a brutal day. Once it gets closer to FOMC, don't make any dumb mistakes. Stay to trade for that next day. Trade the A+ setups. With that, I'm out. Take care.